This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
In August 2013, Stephen Curry walked into a meeting with Nike at the Oakland Marriott, a meeting that was supposed to mark his elevation to a marquee spokesman for the company. He had been with Nike for years, and they had first rights to negotiate with him. Now, 4 years into the league, he was expecting the company to show him they believed in what he was becoming. But according to his father, Del Curry, the meeting began to unravel from the moment they stepped into the boardroom. The presentation was led by Nico Harrison, who at the time was Nike's sports marketing director. He is now pretty much a laughingstock in the NBA for a whole host of reasons. But at the time, both father and son really felt the absence of the company's power broker, Lynn Merritt. To them, it signaled just how far down the priority list Steph really was. Then came the moment that was the beginning of the end. One of the officials addressed him as Stefan, and nobody in the room, not even Harrison, who had known Stefan since he was a kid, bothered to correct it. And finally, during the presentation, an unedited PowerPoint slide made it clear to the Currys just how little effort the team had put into convincing Steph to sign with them. The slide still had Kevin Durant's name on it, so they had repurposed the entire presentation. So when Under Armour came calling soon after with a contract worth about the same as Nike's offer, around $4 million a year, Steph had little reason to refuse them. Nike had underestimated him. Under Armour had not. And he arrived not just as another signature athlete, but as the face of a company willing to bet their future on his. That gamble turned into a legendary partnership that reshaped Under Armour's identity and helped redefine Steph Curry's global reach. But now, 12 years later, that partnership is over. And we're left with the question, how did Under Armour fumble the bag with one of the greatest players of all time? Hey everyone, it's Kavitha Davidson, and welcome to another episode of Sportly. Last week, Under Armour announced to the world that they are parting ways with Steph Curry, and I wanted to talk about what this means for both the athlete and the company.
Yeah, Melissa, some breaking news. Under Armour and Curry brand officially splitting ways, ending a 13-year partnership.
Endorsement deals end every day, but this partnership has been the stuff of legends in the sports world. And just like any good legend, the story of how Steph chose Under Armour over Nike and Adidas has been told in a lot of ways. Most of those ways were told with a lot of pride by Kevin Plank, Under Armour's CEO. While the story about the botched presentation is true, that wasn't the only reason Steph chose Under Armour. After years of feeling like a small fish in Nike's giant pond, Steph was swept a little off his feet by Plank, who founded Under Armour. Plank had decided that Curry would be his company's first NBA star, and he figured out a strategy to capture the young athlete's attention. It was by first wooing his locker mate, Kent Bazemore, into signing with them. In Plank's own words.
So the way we got to Steph Curry, who was like a bigger athlete than Under Armour could sign, even as a number 7 draft pick, was a guy named Ken Bazemore, was his locker mate. So we actually targeted Ken, and we just said, we're gonna overwhelm Ken with more like shock and awe of product, service, story, love, hugs. And so it was about 3 months into like the Warriors season, and Curry's looking next door at Ken, and he's like, who's this brand that you get all this attention of? Because I'm with Nike, and I really am not heard of from them.
In another interview with Graham Bensinger, Plank also credited Steph's daughter, Riley, for her dad choosing Under Armour.
With Stefan, and so when he was trying to make the call, I was like, all right, we got to pick a shoe brand. You know, what do you want to do, Stefan?
And so she turns around like a 2-year-old and wobbles over to the thing, and she picks up the Nike shoe. She looks at it, turns it backwards, throws it over her shoulder. She goes over, she picks up the Adidas shoe. She looks at it, turns it over, throws it over her shoulder. And she picks it up and she turns around and she goes, "Here, Daddy, this one." And so Riley Curry is the reason that Under Armour was able to sign with Steph.
Regardless of what exactly sealed the deal, Steph signed with Under Armour in October 2013, and together they began an extremely lucrative partnership. 2 years after Steph walked away from Nike, the New York Times was writing about the sneaker wars between Steph and LeBron, the faces representing Under Armour and Nike.
It's my pleasure to present you Steph Curry with the 2014-15 Kia MVP Award.
By 2015, Steph had won a championship and an MVP, and he had the best-selling jersey in the league. The player, who was apparently small potatoes and didn't merit a proper presentation, was now going toe-to-toe with Nike and the NBA's biggest star. So Steph's decision to sign not with one of the giants of the industry, but with this small, retail-oriented company, really could have changed the game.
While Under Armour still holds less than 1% of the footwear segment compared to Nike's 90%, Under Armour's basketball shoes have more than quadrupled in dollar terms so far this year compared with last year. That's thanks in part to Curry's hyper-visibility in the 2015 NBA Finals and being named the league's MVP.
Steph Curry's arrival at Under Armour did change everything for the company at the time. His signature shoe line became a major revenue driver. In down quarters for UA apparel, the Curry sneakers routinely boosted footwear revenue. For example, in 2016, during a weak quarter, the Curry shoe still accounted for a 28% jump in revenue. In 2020, the Curry brand was formally launched as a sub-brand under UA, a bold move that turned Curry from just an athlete into a full business partner. His company 30 Inc., which includes the Curry brand, reportedly generated $173.5 million in revenue in 2024, driven in large part by the Curry Under Armour business. So both the company and the athlete have profited immensely from this partnership. Yet 12 years later, the same Kevin Plank who once planned meticulously to poach Steph Curry from Nike was now doing the thing he said he could never imagine doing: letting their biggest NBA star go. So, was the choice of UA too hasty for Steph? While Nike had failed to see his potential at that disastrous meeting 12 years ago, is it possible that the bigger company would have ultimately treated Curry better? After all, LeBron James and Kevin Durant have lifetime contracts with Nike, and Curry is obviously as big as either of them. Jordan Rogers, the former brand director of Nike basketball, disagrees.
At Nike, he would have never in a million years gotten that. He was sitting under, who is still playing today, LeBron James and Kevin Durant. He still would be like little brother to them.
You can see why Steph made the decision he did at the time. But you can also wonder about the alternate universe where Steph has been a Nike athlete all along. Now Under Armour has had 2 years of declining sales. Some of it is due to the new tariffs, since the majority of their factories are based abroad, and some due to low consumer spending.
Under Armour is down 40% this year, has really struggled recently, both from a revenue standpoint and really a branding standpoint.
The company even brought back their maverick founder as CEO to get them out of this situation 6 years after he stepped down in 2019. Kevin Plank had led them through tough times before, and the company's board clearly hoped he would do it again. But as soon as he returned, Plank announced a company-wide restructuring. The problem, as he saw it, was that Under Armour wasn't focused enough on its own products. Rather than continuing to pour resources into one athlete-led sub-brand, he says, UA was choosing to, quote, get back to basics and concentrate on its core business. Except analysts began to note almost immediately that the timing of Under Armour's separation with Steph happens to come toward the twilight of his basketball career. No doubt, he still has a few prime years left in him. But as Pat Benson observed on The Dan Patrick Show,
the timing is incredibly odd. Just 2 years ago, Under Armour launched 5 years ago, Under Armour launched Curry brand. And then in 2023, they signed a long-term deal, which had the potential to be a lifetime contract. So we're 2 years into what could have been a lifetime contract, but Under Armour's undergoing major restructuring, and that included spinning off Curry brand. So Curry brand is independent. Stephen Curry and his sneaker company are now sneaker free agents. They'll be looking for a new home.
The 11-time All-Star hasn't just been an athlete on their roster. He's been a major revenue engine. Just a year ago, when Curry and Plank were asked about their future during a Bloomberg Live, both seemed quite sure that they would continue working together, even after Steph retires.
From 2013, when I had my first meeting in Charlotte with the Under Armour team, like the vision was to build something unique and special to kind of reflect what I wanted in the basketball space. Under Armour basketball was babies at the time, and there's kind of just a white canvas of what do you want to build, and built off my signature journey over the course of the first 8 years, Curry brand launching. I'm in this thing. I'm a part of the design, the evolution of the line, and I'm excited that this is something that we can continue even after I'm done playing basketball.
But as we all know now, that's not going to happen. It's possible that Under Armour is preparing for the inevitable dip that comes when a superstar moves from active face of the brand to legacy figure. Though that's frankly hard to imagine with a player who will go down as one of the greatest to ever play the game. If you talk to sneakerheads, they'll tell you that the problem is that Under Armour simply didn't know what to do with Curry. They had no vision. They didn't know what they had. Aside from some early successes like the Curry one and some early designs that were admittedly ahead of their time, UA's reputation in the shoe world is not for being particularly innovative in its aesthetic.
Release of the Curry 2s was a disaster. The low chef version cost $120, but looked like something a nurse would wear in a hospital.
And a lot of people think that's because of the company's leadership being disconnected to the culture it's trying to serve.
Curry's retail around $160, on par with only Kobe, MJ, and LeBron. And I get that Steph is on that level as a player, but not in the shoe game. That priced out a lot of potential new customers. So when StockX released the top sales of NBA shoes, it's clear UA messed up with Steph.
Sneaker culture is a formidable part of pop culture with inextricable ties to Black and hip hop culture. As Michael Jordan said back in 1989, it's about the shoes. And the shoes transcend merely performance tools to the worlds of fashion, art, and design. Companies like Nike and Adidas make shoes that every kid wants, not just because they help them run faster or jump higher, but because they look good and help them express their individuality. And since Jordan, athletes and particularly NBA players have been the primary driver of consumers to this culture. The founder of sneaker history, Nick Engvall, wrote on his Substack that Nike understood this and Adidas understood this. But Under Armour, quote, thought it was making athletic equipment when it should have been making art. Under Armour was so fixated on product innovations like its vaunted moisture-wicking technology that they forgot to engage with the actual culture of basketball and streetwear. Critics like Engvall lament the opportunity Under Armour wasted by not taking risks or hiring product designers who are in tune with the communities who drive sneaker culture. And it didn't help that Kevin Plank is a well-known supporter of Donald Trump, further highlighting that cultural divide. But at the end of the day, it's still about the shoes. And the shoes were mostly uninspiring, more suited for the Walmart crowd than the StockX crowd. So for many sneakerheads and Curry fans, Steph separating from Under Armour and taking his brand forward isn't actually the worst news.
Finally, I'm gonna be able to cop some Currys again.
Now, Steph is a sneaker free agent and has full autonomy over his designs. He can build his own brand past his retirement the way Serena Williams has, both at Nike and with her personal ventures, or he can move to a new partnership that values him more than Under Armour does at this point.
I was, blessed to have an unbelievable experience, to take a chance on something that meant a lot to me over the last 13 years, and extremely proud of what myself, my team, everybody who was able to touch that business for that long. We all should be proud of what we were able to accomplish and taking.
Steph's own response after the announcement by Under Armour tells us that he doesn't hold the decision against the company. And let's keep in mind that he's the CEO of Curry brand, which is separating from Under Armour with him next year. Many were surprised to recently see him wearing a pair of Nikes, the Kobe 6 Mambasitas, during warm-ups before a game, and they wondered if he's heading back to them. But Steph says he's more interested in making his own shoe brand even bigger. Steph isn't the first superstar to have to rethink his relationship with a major brand late in his career. Tom Brady is one of the clearest parallels. After years as one of Under Armour's most visible athletes, Brady shifted his energy toward building TB12, a health and performance brand he co-founded, and later Brady, his own apparel line. By the time he retired, he had transitioned from endorser to entrepreneur, using the credibility of a decades-long Hall of Fame career to create businesses built on his own identity rather than someone else's logo. Serena Williams offers yet another model. She's been with Nike for more than 2 decades, a long and successful partnership, and recently she's shifted focus toward her own fashion line, S by Serena. It's a similar model to what Steph had with Curry brand at UA. Now, when Serena works with Nike, she does so as a partner with full creative control. It's an autonomy mirrored by her moving into the venture capital space with Serena Ventures, investing in businesses she believes in rather than simply promoting one. She also did this late in her tennis career and now in retirement. This comes as part of a trend among superstar athletes who are now thinking of themselves as business people as they look toward their post-playing days. Even if they've made millions as players, they have a desire to move into management and ownership. Yet another example is Dwayne Wade, who left Jordan Brand in the latter stage of his NBA career and signed with Li Ning, a partnership that eventually gave him Way of Wade, his own global shoe line.
I had more to offer. I had more to give. I wanted to become a part of something. I know it was going to take a lot of work. I know it was going to take a lot of sacrifice, but I was willing to do it because I want to leave a legacy. This is bigger than me being an endorser. This is really a partnership. I wanted to show up-and-coming guys, a lot of young guys as well, that you are a business.
What looked pretty unusual at the time, a superstar moving from an American giant to a much lesser-known Chinese brand, has aged into one of the most successful athlete-led footwear ventures in the world. Wade benefited from equity and the ability to shape a brand in his own image, something that would have been far more difficult under a traditional endorsement deal. And maybe that's a path that Steph could choose as well. I'll be following where Steph lands next, because if anything's clear from this 12-year saga, a transcendent talent deserves a transcendent shoe. Thanks so much for tuning into Sportly. Tune in next week and every week after as we dive into another great story. And if you have thoughts or suggestions for a topic you'd like me to cover, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to email me at kavitha@immigrantlypod.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review us on your favorite podcast app. Sportly is an Immigrantly Media production. This episode was produced by Paroma Chakravarti. Our executive producer is Sadia Khan. Our sound designer and editor is Paroma Chakravarti. Our theme music was created by Simon Hutchinson, other music by Epidemic Sound. Tune back in next week and every week after for more Sportly.